bear with me. First off, I'm honored to have the opportunity to do this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I had to write this out because, if you look at this room, this was 2 years. And that's incredible. To have this many people here and to make that big of an impact in that short of time. My name is Jason Miller. Ben Benner was my friend. I'm going to do my best to honor him and tell you my story of Ben Benner. My story was centered around football, but it turned into a much bigger relationship and a sense of community that Ben Benner was instrumental in building. It was not an accident that Ben and his family settled here in St. Louis. He was put here to have a lasting impact on all of us, and we didn't even know it. Although the time was way too short, he has made a lasting impact on my life and the lives of several people in this community. Only someone like Ben Benner could have done that. To give you a little backstory of how our relationship started, I was the head coach of our son's football team, which seems kind of insignificant at this point, but it really wasn't if you knew how much it meant to him. Our football team was formed in 2020 with a combination of 5th and 6th grade kids. We were very outmatched, played against all 6th graders that year, didn't score a point, didn't win a game. Going into the offseason, my goal was to grow our program. At the end of 2020, we only had 43 kids in the entire program. I had 27 5th and 6th graders, and Andy Hafner had 16 7th graders. We talked about building excitement in the program and trying to do more through social media to raise awareness around Parkway that we had tackle football. We talked about putting on a week-long camp to get kids excited. In December of that year, I get a call from Ben Benner. He just moved his family to St. Louis, and they hadn't even started school yet, and he got a hold of me. And he told me that he had a son that was going into 7th grade, and that he had coached football out in Utah, and that he was saying, if you need anybody with, I'd love to get involved. If you need anybody to help coach, all that stuff. I'm like, absolutely. You got a guy that wants to come help coach, and he's done it before. Absolutely, come on board. I told him about the Elite Football Academy out in Chesterfield, and he and I started taking Nathan and Josh there that winter. I told Ben that we needed more talent. We didn't score a point. We didn't win a game. Ben's immediate response to me was, "We'll score, and we'll win some games. I guarantee you we'll score." And then Nathan and Josh are out doing footwork drills. I saw him look out at Nathan, and he said this. He goes, "I promise you we'll get it done." He goes, "He'll get loose, and once he does, nobody will catch him." Fast forward to the fall. For everybody that was a part of this, we grew our program tremendously. We went from 43 kids to having 110 in just 1 year in the program. We were preparing for a scrimmage down in Washington, and Ben said, "Hey, why don't we have a pizza party, pool party over at my house? Love to have the kids over. I think it'd be great for the parents to meet each other, kids to hang out outside of football. They can build relationships." He said, "I'll host. Vanessa and I love to do that thing." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what do I need to do with the details?" He goes, "Vanessa will take care of all that." And that was always Vanessa's job. I was like, I'll get everybody together. She'll take care of the details. This was not the only time that he did this. The Benners did this on multiple occasions over the last couple years. And boy, was he right. It started forming a bond between the kids and seeing each other as more than just teammates. They became friends outside of football. it also started to form a bond with a lot of the football moms and dads who became friends because of the opportunities that the Benners provided. I'm going to fast forward to our first game. As I told you, we didn't score the previous year. Now it's like you look back at this and how quickly this all happened. And the first play of the season, he got loose. We went from going 0-6 and not winning a game to the very first play of the season, we scored. He comes running up to me, and only the way he can. He's like, I told you. I told you. We were elated. His confidence was contagious. Like he believed in people, and he showed that on a daily basis. Even though most of our time together was spent on the football field, we built a very close friendship the last 2 years. In the summer before our first season together, we had a conversation around Nathan and how he really hadn't made a lot of connections here yet, and he was missing his football buddies back in Utah. I told him that we should have dinner together and get Josh and Nathan together in a social setting. I said, because Josh is a type A personality, he'll talk, he'll get Nathan to talk. And he's like, yeah, that'd be great. I'm like, well, why don't we go to a Parkway West football game afterward? It'd be great. As that dinner progressed and as it got further along, Nathan started coming out of his shell. I finally heard him talk for the first time. He started laughing. And from that point forward, their friendship grew, and he developed more and more friends within the Parkway West School District and on the team. It's almost like Ben knew that he needed to tell me that. It's like he knew that I would do something to try to take action. And that's what I noticed about him, is that's the kind of dad he was. He was present. I watched him do it, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but I watched him do it so many times where when you were in his presence, he was your focus, and he was present with his kids. Throughout 2022, our friendship grew outside of football, and it was those times and interactions that really gave me the opportunity to experience what Ben Benner was all about. Our families took a cruise together in the summer last year, and it was during that time where I was able to see a different side of Ben. He was an amazing father. He was always concerned about making sure that whatever his kids wanted to experience, they had the opportunity to. I found out that he was good at everything on that cruise. I didn't know how good he was at everything. I watched him sing, I watched him dance, he did everything. I watched him lose a lot of money in blackjack that night. But he had a magnetic personality, and it captivated a room. We spent a lot of quality time on that cruise. We talked about a lot, and he got to show me the man that he was outside of football and off the field. Fast forward to 2022 football season, and one of my favorite memories of him was he had a way with people, and if you played for me or you were around me, I'm a very fiery, passionate personality. I was more of like a fire, he was an ice. He would always come in and cool the situation down. October 2nd, 2022 will forever be my favorite memory with Ben. To give you guys some context, we had been beaten the previous year by Rockwood Summit 36-0. And it was a special game because the way the schedule worked out, it was a night game. We dominated the game from start to finish, but made a couple of mistakes. And with less than 5 seconds left,
you got loose.
Yes.
we were up 12-8. And Ben was our defensive coordinator. He moved Nathan back to safety because he knew that it was one throw to the end zone, and if they scored, they were going to win. Nathan picked the ball off at the 1-yard line and took it back 99 yards for a touchdown to seal the game. To go from losing that team 36-0 and winning the way that we did, everybody was euphoric that night. It was one of the best nights of our lives, and I think the boys can attest to that. We sat around the fire and had drinks and talked for hours till 4 a.m. You remember that? And the most special part of it was when he invited Nathan out. told him, I remember this like it was yesterday. He said, life, what you did tonight is special. Life is about moments in time. He told Nathan not to take that feeling for granted. He told him that these moments you have to cherish because they don't come around too often, and he may not ever have another one like it in that type of a setting. I found it amazing that he took the time to make sure Nathan knew how special that night was, not just for him, but for everybody in our community. Nathan's last season was nothing short of spectacular. He led our team in scoring, returned 2 interceptions that won games for us. It was like God knew. Like God knew this was going to be the last time he was ever going to watch him play. He had the best season you could possibly imagine. After the season, Tom, Ben and I took a road trip up to Buffalo to watch a game together. Ben and Tom aren't even Buffalo fans, but they thought it would be fun to go, and we road tripped up there, and it was a 13-hour drive. Got a lot of windshield time, able to share a lot of stories. I got to hear about how Vanessa and Ben met, how they wound up together, all the stories of their moves and travels around the country. One thing I learned from his brothers in the last couple of days was Ben chose who he gave his time to. And I was honored that he chose to spend some with us. Ben is a leader. He led with a servant's heart. He didn't do things for credit. He did so many things behind closed doors and really invested in the youth within this community. He loved coaching. He loved being part of the coaches group. He and I often talked about how doing this awoke something inside of us that was dormant for years. One thing for our team, one of the biggest mottos we had was we don't get tired. How many times did we say that? And he said it more than me. If you remember during sprints, he said we don't get tired. He embodied that in the way he lived. I challenge you that when times get tough, and you just think of Ben's voice, and just think to yourself, we don't get tired. Just go a little harder, a little further. As I said, Ben did not end up here by accident. He was put here to help us and provide a blueprint for how we should live our lives. Ben lived with passion, drive, and spirit. He was selfless, always put others first. He loved to laugh, and he showed us through his actions to be present with every individual he came in contact with. He showed us how we should love. Ben had a lot of plans. Sometimes God has other plans. And although we can't understand them right now, he was put here to have a lasting impact on all of us. We will miss him very much. Vanessa, Izzy, Nathan, Sam, thank you for sharing him with us. He's one of the best human beings I've ever met. I love you guys.